A new age, the Renaissance, had begun. Nicholas's words were more than a lament. They were a manifesto. He'd already started the rebuilding of St. Peter's. He had established the magnificent Vatican Library. Others would complete it. But in the grandeur, there is another picture. It evokes images of a Hollywood spectacular, all decadence and drag. Renaissance Rome, a city of expense account whores and political wheeler dealing. Everything and everyone had a price, and nothing and nobody could be trusted. The Pope set the tone. Alexander VI flaunting a young and nubile mistress in the Vatican, poisoning his cardinals, promoting his 9 illegitimate sons and daughters. His daughter Lucrezia, the pawn in a series of loveless dynastic marriages, arranged by her father, the Pope. His son Cesare, the model for Machiavelli's prince, who carved a personal empire out of the lands of the church, aided and abetted by his father. The Swiss Guards, their uniforms designed by Michelangelo, are the ceremonial remnants of the lethal mercenary armies Pope Julius II recruited for his wars. A lifelong rival of Alexander VI, he was, beneath this holy exterior, a ferocious and enthusiastic warrior, reclaiming for the church the lands stolen by Alexander and his family. Leo X, a cleric at 7, cardinal at 13, said after his election, "God has given us the papacy. Let us enjoy it." And enjoy it he did. A lavish patron of every kind of display, his sumptuous feasts were notorious. One meal, described by a Venetian ambassador, had 65 courses, each of 3 different dishes. His stables were an elaborate zoo, which included an albino elephant presented by the King of Portugal. Poets, jugglers, and jesters filled his court. He left the papacy bankrupt. How could such men sit upon the chair of Peter?
The papal court was full of career clerics who could expect to be cardinals without ever having to be ordained. And the whole atmosphere of the papal court was that of a great secular centre of learning, of political administration, of legal administration. The clergy of the Roman Curia were lawyers, writers, historians. Some of them were pious, but most were simply career clergy. And it's from those men that the cardinals were recruited, and it's from the cardinals that the popes were recruited.
Despite his many wars, Julius II found the money to pull down the old St. Peter's. He commissioned a series of artistic giants, from Bramante and Raphael to Michelangelo, to raise a triumphant new monument to papal grandeur. This was the age of humanism, a period of rediscovered classical learning, the flowering of creativity in painting, sculpture, and architecture. The Sistine Chapel was designed to provide a setting for papal elections and for meetings and worship of the 200 clerics who, with the Pope, formed the papal chapel. It's not simply pious decoration that was created here. In the frescoes are worked out ideological statements, laden with papal symbolism. In this fresco, Christ consigns the keys to Peter by Perugino, the papal overtones are obvious. They are also subtle. Christ hands the golden key of spiritual authority to Peter. Suspended from it, the base metal key of temporal power. The Pope, like Christ, is supreme in both spheres. If anyone doubts the enduring religious depth of Renaissance Rome, then look at the elaborate humanist program of imagery here. Michelangelo's masterpiece on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Commissioned, of course, by the Pope. This was art which preached as well as delighted the senses. The splendor of idealized human flesh was pressed into service. Christianity was shown as the fulfillment of Old Testament prophecy and all that was best in human history and culture. And at the heart of Christianity, to celebrate the greatness of the papacy. Rome had become the artistic center of the world. It became also the center for learning. The Vatican Library, resurrected by Pope Nicholas V, became the greatest in Europe. It still is. A priceless repository of Christian and pagan tradition. Nicholas was determined, in his words, to create for the common convenience of the learned a library of all books, both in Latin and in Greek, that is worthy of the popes and the apostolic see. Christian universities were in a state of change and uncertainty. Martin V, the Pope elected to end the Great Schism in the early 15th century, established the constitution for the University of Salamanca in Spain,